welcome to the Babe Bulletin podcast, where we talk self love, self care, boudoir, empowerment, really anything else that makes us feel like a total babe. I am Alicia, your host, and I've been a boudoir photographer for 8 years. So I'm excited to share with you what I have learned about body liberation and self love during that time. We've got a really important topic today. And before I jump into it, I want to encourage folks to sit in feelings that might, I don't know, feel a little ugh today because we're talking about dieting. And I know that that can be very triggering for some people. And I know that a lot of folks participate in diet culture. But I think as we start the new year, what better time to talk about dieting and diet culture than right now? It's still January, and there's always a big push for, new year, new you kind of stuff. And one of the areas where I see that happen a lot is within diet culture spaces. There's a push to lose weight, there's a push to have a summer body, and as diet culture kind of weasels its way even into like wellness spaces, a lot of weight loss stuff is disguised as, well, this is good for your health, this is good for you. And it's like, no, it's still diet culture through and through. It's still a promotion of thinness. So we're going to be diving into that today. And I want to talk about why I hate diets, but not dieters, okay? Because guess what? Most people have done some kind of diet at some point in their life, myself included. So I am right there with you, okay? We've been through it together. And if you are still in a place where you diet, I just want you to know what we're talking about today is not an attack on you by any means, but it's an important discussion that we need to have. And maybe we will discuss some topics that you have not thought about before in the diet culture world. And so again, if I say something and you're like, oh, I do that, or oh, I've done that, just know, A, I'm right there with you. Me too. And it's important that we still talk about these things, even if it makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable, okay? Now that we've got that out of the way, I want to jump in and talk about diet culture, all right? So what is it? Well, there's not really a set definition for what diet culture is, but to me, it's this very pervasive force that promotes the idea of thinness being the only acceptable body type, and that the way to achieve thinness is dieting. This is damaging. This is false, and it's led to an increase in disordered eating, along with body image issues and just an overall unhealthy relationship to food. So many people are afraid of certain foods now because diet culture taught them to believe they were quote unquote bad. When we think about dieting, I believe the number somewhere around like 90-95% of people have been on a diet at some point in their life. Like I said, yeah, me too, many times. But what's really disappointing and sad is that the National Eating Disorders Association reported that 35% of quote unquote normal dieters do progress to become pathological dieters, right? Meaning it's something that they're kind of doing all of the time and always seeking out. And then 20 to 25% of those individuals develop an eating disorder. So it's a very slippery slope from, oh, I'm going to go on a diet to lose 10 pounds to, oh, I need a diet all the time to, oh, now I'm not even fueling my body correctly at all. And this has now become a disorder that I need to be hospitalized for or seek professional help for. It's scary how quickly that can happen. And within diet culture, you've got this system of beliefs that values thinness over health, which is why it's so slippery from going from, I'm just going to diet this one time to, well, now I have an eating disorder or even just a disordered way of viewing food, things like that. Because health is not the priority within diet culture. And that's also where like advertisers and gyms and fitness influencers and health gurus and what have you, right? They will sometimes pretend like what they're promoting is really just about your health. But when you really dig into that marketing and you really dig into the product that they're selling, or the, calorie less food that they're peddling, whatever it may be, it is about thinness at the end of the day. The value for thinness is promoted by media, diet companies, our own friends and family, right? Because they're dealing with all of the same BS that we are. Diet culture is telling us that you have to be thin in order to be attractive, that you have to be thin in order to be successful, that you have to be thin in order to be happy, and that we need to restrict our food intake and exercise excessively in order to achieve this goal. If we don't do it, well, then you're a failure. Then you're lazy, right? This is dangerous. It's dangerous because this is going to really negatively harm people who are full-grown adults. We know that. This is harming kids too. I mean, Dove has done a bunch of beauty campaigns and research into this, and seeing how it affects children. It's rough. It's rough out there, folks. 80% of 10-year-old girls have been on a diet. That's a bummer. 90% of girls say that they follow at least one social media account that makes them feel less beautiful. The majority of 6-year-olds have at least tried a diet. I mean, it's grotesque at the end of the day how quickly our kids are getting involved in diet culture, because it's everywhere. It's so prominent. It's so prevalent. And if you're hearing that and you're like feeling, I don't know, a little bit scared, or maybe like, what can I do? Dove also found that 80% of girls would like their parents to talk to them about how to manage toxic beauty advice and social media. So, hey, your kids want you to talk to them about this. So I'm glad you're listening, especially if you have kids, because you're going to learn some stuff and then you're going to be able to take it to your kids, and they want to talk to you about it. So all hope is not lost, all right? Please do not feel that way. Diet culture, though, has definitely contributed to this world of people judging themselves. And it has created this world where people are afraid to eat certain foods or enjoy certain activities because they don't want to be judged. Like I said, those little girls who are on social media, they're following accounts that make them feel bad about themselves. They're feeling judged just on the other side of a screen, let alone in person from from other people. Diet culture has created this world where people are ashamed of their bodies and they feel like they have to hide them away. And that is why I hate diet culture so much. I'm a boudoir photographer, which means I see a lot of bodies, a lot of different shapes, a lot of different sizes. And the majority of my clients have something with their body that they just do not feel comfortable about. And when you dig into that fear and that uncomfiness for the majority of those people, it stems from diet culture. It stems from this belief that thinness is the idea, that, tight skin and a tiny waist and big boobs and a big butt, whatever, like whatever trend our society has currently deemed okay for a body, these insecurities and this fear stem from that. I see it all of the time. And it is such a bummer because I'm not seeing what these clients are seeing, but they're seeing it and they're feeling it. And that's very, very real, and that's very, very valid. And I just don't want people to avoid living their life because they're afraid of how other people are going to perceive them. And those perceptions stem from diet culture. That is such a downer, because this is it, folks. We got one life, and I don't want you missing any of it because you were afraid. But I also get why it's happening, and we need to start doing something about it. So I can understand that dieters are people who are trying to make positive changes in their life. I get it. And maybe they think that dieting will make them healthier. I also get that because that's a primo marketing slogan right there, right? They think maybe if they're thin, they'll be a more worthy person. And I don't blame them at all for the damaging messages that diet culture has created. Like I said, I've been there with you. I've been in these trenches. Even though I have been working on my own personal self love for 8 years, do not think that I don't have any thoughts about dieting anymore or intentional weight loss, because I do. It's just everywhere and it's hard to escape it. I can't go on my Instagram explore page without being bombarded by weight loss photos. You would think of all the people in the world who's got an algorithm set up for fat liberation, it would be me, given the kind of content that I post and the sort of content that I engage with. But nope, my Instagram explore page is like, no, 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 no. You need to be thinner. And here's a bunch of thinspo to get you thinking about how you want to lose that weight. I can't go on Facebook without seeing GLP-1 ads. I can't watch anything on Hulu without getting ads from hers on how I can buy injections at home, and I don't even need insurance to do it. Don't I want to be skinny? Don't I want to be skinny? Come on, everybody wants to be skinny. Like, I cannot exist in this world without a daily reminder that I'm supposed to be smaller than I currently am. And so, yeah, even for someone like me who's really actively in this stuff, in the body liberation space, self-love spaces, body positivity, that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter. I'm getting hit with all of these ads that say the contrary as well, and it's exhausting. And I certainly have my days where I'm like, oh, if I just lost 20 pounds, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. But then I have to investigate that feeling and be like, okay, is that actually the truth? No, it's not. We got to dig in a little bit, figure out what's really going on. Most of the time, guess what? When we don't feel good about our bodies, it's because something else is actually going on in our life that's causing a lot of stress or anxiety. So maybe you investigate that a little bit, that inner critic, that diet culture voice, and you're like, okay, what's actually going on? Maybe work is really stressful, or things haven't been great at home. The list goes on and on. But it's important that we dig in because, again, you're not alone in this, okay? I get it. I feel the same way sometimes. But the reason that we need to move away from diet culture and investigate when that inner critic shows up is because we don't want to live in a world where we are doing any kind of like restrictive eating. All right? That's going to lead to that unhealthy relationship with food, disordered eating, nutrient deficiencies even. I don't want that for you. I don't want you feeling any kind of body shame. We don't need to idealize one type of body over another. Bodies aren't trends, and yet we see it happen all the time where every 50 years it feels like a different body shape is what's in style, always around thinness. This leads to body dissatisfaction, low self-esteem, and this increased pressure to conform to unrealistic standards. It creates a cycle of failure. 95% of diets fail. They're not set up for you to succeed. People who diet in 1 to 5 years gain that weight back, and often more. If diets worked, we wouldn't keep spending money on diet stuff. So I promise you, the people who are manufacturing these products, these services, they don't want you to succeed. They just don't. Because then how will you come back to them and spend more money with them? All right? It's not you. It's the diet, all right? Dieting can undermine long-term health goals. Like, for example, yo-yo dieting, right? Where we lose a bunch of weight, we gain a bunch of weight. We lose a bunch of weight, we gain a bunch of weight. That's worse for your health than just being any consistent weight. That's really hard on your organs to do that. But diet culture is like, no, that's what we want. Keep doing that. because it's not really about health, right? At the end of the day, like we've said a million times, it's not really about that. They want your money. They want you to feel crappy about yourself, and then they can provide a solution, which is 100-calorie snack pack, right? When we diet, we obsess over our weight. That's not healthy either. That's really bad for your mental health. We don't even think about how genetics plays a role in this. It's something like 70% of the way that your body looks is just based on genetics. Does anyone ever talk about that when they're talking about weight or size or shape? No, but it's true. Genetics plays a very big role in the amount of weight that you're going to carry. And we don't even discuss that at all in diet culture. Your mental health can get worse. We already touched on that. Diet culture certainly does not want to show a diverse amount of bodies, right? Again, thinness is the ideal, often white thinness. I should do a whole episode on how diet culture is tied to racism, because we could spend a lot of time talking about that. That goes back to when you had like Black women in freak shows during Victorian times, right? And people would come and gawk because they were a different shape or size than the Victorian white women. Ugh. Ugh. It's very hard not to like go Hulk mode, because that's just so disgusting. So yeah, diet culture, white thinness, that's the ideal. And on that, we know like diet culture wants to promote quick fixes. There is no such thing as sustainable change within diet culture. You got to lose that weight, and you got to lose it fast, right? And then in 1 to 5 years, when it comes back, there will be another solution for you to purchase. If you take GLP-1s, I would do a little bit of research now, because they've been out for a while. And unfortunately, we are seeing the same results from GLP-1s that we are any other fad diet, which is the weight comes back. So medical weight loss has now entered diet culture world. I mean, it's already kind of been there, but now it's even more accessible, I would say. And yeah, we're seeing the exact same results. People are gaining all of their weight back, and then some within like 5 years. There is no such thing as a quick fix. It's all marketing BS, okay? And diet culture definitely is undermining intuitive eating. And I think intuitive eating is so much better. It's about listening to your body, connecting with yourself. What do you actually want? What are you craving? What does your body right now need to feel sustained? Maybe your body would really like a piece of bread, and that's okay, because carbs are not the actual enemy here, okay? Like fat is okay. Our brains actually need it. Now, once you start to do some intuitive eating, you'll figure out what kinds of carbs and fats and sugars and vitamins and all that good stuff your body really needs to function at its best. But that's going to be different for every person. You can't just put a sticker on the forehead of every single person and go, yep, you all need to eat exactly the same. No, everybody needs something that's a little bit different, and you'll figure it out as you do some investigating and maybe your own research, and maybe you do talk to a dietitian or your doctor, or you just seek things out and information for yourself. But intuitive eating is so cool because you really get to know yourself and what you want and what you need in order to feel your best. Okay, so yeah, sometimes it's going to be a really awesome salad that's full of nutrient dense veggies, and it's going to be delicious, and that's exactly what your body needs to make it through the day. And then other times you want a little bit of comfort food, and you're going to enjoy a chocolate chip cookie with no guilt, because that's what your body needs in that moment. Great. And diet culture completely undermines that, and that's lame. And then I think the worst thing about diet culture, at least to me, is how it does just normalize disordered eating. So practices like calorie counting, food guilt, detoxing, all of that is very normalized in diet culture, and honestly, it's more harmful than good, and it really allows disordered eating patterns to just take hold. So, we know why diet culture is not great. I've just been bombarding your ear holes with kind of bummer information. But guess what? It doesn't have to stay this way. It doesn't have to be this way for you. It doesn't have to be this way for your kids. We can end diet culture and we can promote a culture of self love instead, okay? And it starts with being kinder to yourself. It starts with not judging yourself. It starts with not judging other people for the way that they look, for their size, for their shape. We need to stop promoting restrictive diets and instead look at healthy eating habits. Like I said, intuitive eating. We need to start there. We also have to find solutions for food deserts where food is not accessible. We got to find a way to improve eating disorder support. How can we do that? Where can we donate? Where can we volunteer? Where can we put our resources? We got to stop telling people that they need to be thin to be happy. Because it's not true. And instead, we should be looking at happiness from lots of different sizes and shapes that our bodies naturally want to be. I mean, a great example of that is me and my sister. If you look at her and you look at me, you wouldn't even know we came from the same family. We look very different in a lot of ways. The color of our skin, the color of our hair, and yeah, the shape of our bodies. We're very, very different looking people. But how we exist in order to be at our happiest it's going to look different for both of us, okay? So keep all of these things in mind. We're going to question our inner critic when that voice shows up because there's a good chance the thing that it's telling you is probably tied to diet culture. So we can investigate that a little bit, break that down and be like, nah, okay, you're lying to me. We're going to figure out the kinds of foods that our bodies like in order to feel their best. And we're going to acknowledge that that's different for each person, okay? And that's okay. What works for me might not work for you. We're going to be patient with ourselves. We're going to be gentle with ourselves as we navigate trying to get out of diet culture because, again, it is so ingrained in everything that we do. But I want you to give yourself some patience and some grace as you're trying to get out of the thick of it. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be that fun. So be kind to yourself while you do it, okay? And we're not going to perpetuate these ideas anymore onto other people. So maybe that means having a conversation with your kid. Maybe that means recognizing when you're having those thoughts about another person. The first thought, I don't know if you guys have heard this before, but like the first thought that you have about someone is kind of what you've been conditioned to believe. And then your second thought is what you actually believe. So what this means is if you catch yourself judging someone for the way that their body looks, that's what you've been conditioned. The second thought that you have where you're like, that wasn't right of me. I'm just happy that that person is at the beach enjoying their day. That's great. That's what we really want. We want to see improvement in that second thought. So we're going to do all of this stuff to try to break away from diet culture, right? So that we can just have a guilt-free, less stressful, and happier life overall. That's what I want for you, and that's what I hope you want for yourself, okay? If you're dieting, I understand. I get it. I've been there. I know the pressure that you're feeling, and I can see the struggle that you are facing, and I empathize with you, all right? I just want you to know that I am sending you good vibes, and I hope that one day you are able to feel neutral in your body. I am sending you those vibes, okay? Before we get into our babe of the week, there are a couple of ways that you can help me out and help out the podcast. You can follow Buxom Boudoir on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube. I'm all over the place. You can also get more information about booking a boudoir session at buxomboudoir.com. I would love to chat and see how a boudoir session can help you feel more empowered in your body. And you can always rate and review this podcast. So wherever you are listening, if you want to drop a comment or leave a review, it really, really helps. We move up the charts a little bit and just 2 seconds of your time can help us out in a really, really big way. So thank you in advance for that. All right, let's talk about this week's Babe of the Week. By now, you have probably heard about the LA fires that are happening. Absolutely heartbreaking. I cannot even imagine the amount of grief that those people are feeling and the terror they must be feeling about having lost everything. The silver lining, at least for me, who is, thousands of miles away, I've been very inspired by the community that and the way that people have been pulling together to provide support for these people. One of the people who is out there doing something is Laura Modi. She is the CEO and the co-founder of a infant formula. They're a startup named Bobby, and Bobby is going to be donating 1,000 cans of formula to grassroots efforts that are out there right now in LA with these fires and getting supplies to people. She is also going to provide a free subscription to the Bobby formula to any parent whose home was destroyed in the fire. That subscription will be good up until their baby's first birthday. And the consumer of this does not need to be a pre-existing customer. So they're going to be donating a lot of formula to people who have just had babies. And she said that how to feed your baby when you have lost everything you own should not be something any new parent needs to worry about. And I think that's incredible. I think in moments of trauma and destruction, finding these little silver linings and seeing the way that people come forward, even, the CEO of a small startup, I find that to be, it's hopeful, right? There's just a little bit of hope there. So shout out to Bobby. Shout out to Laura Modi for donating formula and at least removing one worry from a parent, who's just lost everything. I think that's amazing. And that is everything that I have for you this week on the Babe Bulletin podcast. I'm going to leave you with the same reminder that I always leave you with, which is that your body is a good body. You deserve to be kind to yourself. Go out there and fight the good fight against diet culture. We could do it together. And if there's a way for you to support and donate to any kind of grassroots organization that's helping with the LA fires right now, please do. If you've got the space to do so, I would encourage you to do so because we can be that silver lining as well. So, just get out there, live your life, be a good person, be kind to yourself, and we'll talk again in a week.